Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WP Watercooler episode number 265.
Wait,
this particular episode of WP Watercooler is brought to you by TunnelBear. TunnelBear is an easy-to-use VPN service that allows you to browse the internet with servers in 20 different countries. They have apps for a whole bunch of different stuff, including iPhone, Android, Windows, Mac. They even have a Chrome extension. So feel free to go take a look at them at WPwatercooler.com/TunnelBear. Look,
I love that we have sponsors. I just wanted to point that out. It makes me feel so professional.
Let's go around the room real quick. Get everyone introduced. George, you're in alphabetical order. You're the first one in the alphabet. We sort
after the TunnelBear. Wait, TunnelBear?
TunnelBear.
Go me.
Best name ever.
Yeah. I prefer Cave Bear, but
there's some other places you could take that. Just saying.
Who are you, George?
Who are you, George? Who are you, and what are you doing here?
I'm George Stefanos. I work with Jet Bear, and and I just finished up last weekend our WordCamp Lancaster experience, which was a lot of fun, and I am still catching up on sleep.
Awesome. Always good to have you on, George.
Organizers.
Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
What is sleep?
John, how about you? Tell us about yourself, John.
I'm John Brown. I run a company called 9 Seeds that does custom WordPress development. I'm also a full-time digital nomad, today joining everybody from Maui, where I was the lead organizer of WordCamp Maui a couple years ago. Back here for a couple weeks, and also will be swinging by the meetup group here in Maui that I founded 6 years ago, I think now. So stoked that there's still a WordPress community active and going, even though I left Maui 2 years ago. So cool stuff.
That's awesome, man. Good to have you on, as always, John. How about you, Say?
I just want to know about John's desire to rehost WordCamp Hawaii, WordCamp Maui.
Oh, no, I would love another WordCamp in Hawaii, either on Maui or on Oahu. I lived on Maui for a while, which is why I managed to organize one here. I don't anymore. I went back to being a full-time nomad, and I continue to support and encourage the local community here in Hawaii to organize another one with the promise of my unwavering support logistically to making that happen.
Sponsorshiply.
And sponsorshiply.
Sponsorshiply, it's a word.
Sponsor speakers. But somebody else needs to do the footwork, which is considerable, as my fellow organizers here know. So really hoping.
Wait, you can pause on that. I'll just say who I am, and then Jason can say who he is, and then we can get back to that because we don't have to. I jumped in. I'm sorry. You're just too interesting, John. I'm
Siri. Is that what it's called? Okay.
I Siri Media, do stuff, I press things, WordPress. Mwah. Take it away, Jason.
I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My site is jasontucker.blog. And we also do some other shows on WP Watercooler Network. Yesterday was a pretty cool episode. They had Taco from Yoast on Community Connections yesterday. It was a great episode. It's episode number 11. Feel free to go take a look at that. You can go to wpwatercooler.com/community-connections where you can find out about that. But it was a really cool episode. And they record for an hour. So if you want to listen to an hour's content of them talking about community and all sorts of fun stuff, it was awesome. So talking about community, let's get back into the WordCamp stuff, right?
Yeah,
sure.
Get back in it. I was just going to say, I like the clip that you posted on Instagram. I thought that was very helpful and interesting. And let's do more social promo. Okay.
Yeah, I've been explicitly banned by my wife from being lead organizer in the future. I'm allowed to do like sponsors and speakers and the sort of stuff that can happen long in advance, but the actual day and week of where everything goes crazy and I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off and I have to like take half the week off just to survive. No more. I want to do it, but I should not be allowed to do it. I want things that are bad for me. It's a problem.
Don't we all?
The level of
that could be a whole show in of itself.
What say you, John?
The amount of stress that a lead organizer shoulders the week or two leading up to the first speaker going on is incredible. Like it is intense. But I will say that having good co-organizers is super critical. And I think that early on, like with WordCamp Maui, I picked great people. They didn't have a lot of experience with WordCamp, which was the one challenge, but they'd been to a couple of them had been to a couple, but half of my organizers had never been to a WordCamp. Never seen one, never been to one, because there'd never been one here on Maui. And it's one of those things where most people, unlike I think the insiders, like everybody on the show, who is willing to travel to WordCamps far and wide, most people in Maui have never considered going to a WordCamp on the mainland. So,
no, that's far. Don't do that.
But yeah, I mean, one of the really interesting things is, as lead organizer, and I'm very guilty of this, stop doing things. Delegate things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's a problem that's like across. That's a problem across. That's what I was gonna say. So like, this is not exclusive to WordCamp event management. Always before an event is like, major crunch time and craziness. But I'm wondering, there are so many WordCamps all across this great nation and globe of ours. And at what point is there a format that makes that easier for people? I feel like that there should be one, that there is one, that they all follow a very similar format. It's not reinventing the wheel every time. So is there like a handbook? I know you guys get like mentors, but what's the crazy? Tell me about the crazy.
There are mentors. There is our guidelines and rules.
Is it like the codex? It's like the codex, how the codex is helpful.
No, yeah, it's more helpful than the codex in some way. Yeah, I mean, you get some guidance.
Too real.
I mean, organizing an event is a lot of work. Like, hosting a dinner party is a lot of work. Hosting a all-day conference for 200 or 500 people is a lot more work.
Yeah, it is. And all the prep that you have to do leading up to that, just the amount of, I mean, I'm going to have a meeting right after this about WordCamp OC, where it's like, we got to get together and talk about all the things that are going to be happening for that. And
are you on OC this year?
Always on OC every year. I love it.
Oh, really? How did I not know that? That's weird.
You should go to a meetup, say.
What is a meetup? Wait, meetups and word. This is a meetup. Isn't this a meetup? Don't I come to a meetup all the time?
This is totally a meetup. This is totally a meetup. You don't go anywhere. You just come hang out here.
I just walked into my office and I'm like, hey everybody. No, but like
meetups
really,
are the best.
They are.
But beyond the meetup, you're not planning the camp at the meetup, right? So like, I can't believe that I didn't know that you were one of the organizers for Orange County. Like that is like
one of the organizers.
What? I don't even know where to put that in my brain.
But pretty much what happened with like my role is, with doing hallway track and doing those sorts of things of like getting people together and talking with them and doing that sort of stuff, we're trying to take that to the next level. So when we went to WordCamp US, it was crazy having a hallway track there, branded hallway track, and just having like that sort of thing happen. So it's kind of neat. We'll see how things go this year doing that same sort of thing with WordCamp OC.
George, I want to ask you a question. How did you do your dry after party?
Yes, we did.
How'd that go?
Well, we initially planned on having it being like full bar, have a bartender, everything to make sure people don't get too drunk. We wound up saving about $1,000 on our budget just by having a dry after party, which it went great. We had no complaints. Folks really enjoyed it. We did it BYOB, so some folks like brought a bottle of wine or something to share with friends, which is fine. We're not responsible for that. And one of our speakers, Abby, was, I want to say 18, maybe 19. And so it was a bit more inclusive. So we weren't like having a bunch of people drinking booze around a 19-year-old who we want to make sure is actively included and engaged as well. So we saved a lot on our budget. And I mean, apart from lunch, which was catered by a local company, our afternoon stack, our drinks for the after party, our pizzas for the after party, because we basically just did a pizza party, all came from Costco, and like significant savings over what we were expecting to spend for all of them. So it was fantastic, and I can't say highly enough. If any of your organizers has a Costco membership and you have a local one, go get your stuff there.
Except for if you have gluten-free people, so there's not necessarily. Is there gluten-free? Were there gluten-free options? I'm sorry, this is not exciting to anyone, but I think it's important to advocate for my people.
Not only were there gluten-free options, there were also vegan options and gluten-free and vegan options at the pizza party.
I ordered
25 pizzas from Costco for the general population, and then I followed up individually with every attendee that had registered either gluten or vegan or lactose issues to see what if they would be at the after party and what their needs would be. And then we went out because it was more affordable to just get 3 pizzas, 1 gluten-free, 1 vegan cheese, 1 gluten-free with vegan cheese, and the attendees that needed them loved them, and it was great.
Where did the other pizzas come from? Because not Costco.
No. The other pizzas were a local place that does like artisanal hearth-baked pizzas called The Fridge, and it was great. It was $40 for the 3 pies, and everyone was included.
I was just going to point out the other thing is, so Pennsylvania has a kind of BYOB culture with your liquor laws there that isn't necessarily true of all the states. Having a lot of there, like California, most venues never let you bring in your own, like unless you're in a public or privately owned space that doesn't have a liquor license of their own. Like in California, which is where I grew up, like you could never bring in outside alcohol to somewhere that has a liquor license. So there are some local regulations that kind of come into play.
Sure. I mean, our after party and our speaker dinner were both at the same place, which is a local co-working space. So we had a lot more flexibility there. And as luck would have it, I used to be a member there before. A couple of our other like pseudo organizers still are members. So we wound up listing them as a venue sponsor and got the entire space donated, which was a tremendous help for our budget as well. It's possible to have a WordCamp on a relatively small budget. So yeah.
I'm curious if any of you, I follow the community discussions on the make.wordpress.org blog a lot. Did any of you see the recent discussion about speaker thank yous and gifts?
Did they finally post it? I've been waiting for them to post it so I could get a comment on that.
Yeah, they posted it last week, and I commented on it.
So I need to go comment on that. That was because I was asking questions, and I don't know if any of what I was asking has gotten on the discussion yet, but I had a plan for what I wanted to do for our speaker gift, which was...
Oh, right, you did this.
Yes. So instead of just like giving them a bag or something, which is what we ended up doing, I wanted to give all the speakers a set of lockpicks and have someone from Tool, the open organization of lockpickers, which is very much like open source hardware stuff, come up from DC and do a workshop explaining how lockpicking works, how you can understand the technology that secures your stuff, all that kind of thing. But some people were kind of skeeved out by the concept of it's lockpicking. That's what criminals do, even though criminals would never actually do traditional lockpicking because there are far easier ways to break into things. But some people were skeeved out, so it wound up getting vetoed. But I was hoping to have the discussion and say, this is kind of like having a code security workshop, which you will often see in tracks at a WordCamp. What is the difference between physical and digital security? And if we don't, I mean, I'm not giving these to just any Joe that walks in off the street. This is for our speakers, folks that we know, folks that we presumably have some level of trust in. So
that sounds like a brilliant, fun,
that's awesome.
Kind of team building event for the speakers. I would love that. Like it's not so much the lockpicking set, right? Like that's one thing, but
that's $10 with the little practice transparent lock that they can practice on. Yeah, but
that's awesome.
I had
getting
someone
together to actually learn like all together how to do it. Sounds like a really fun.
Yeah, I had someone who was willing to volunteer their time, come up and do the workshop for free. Just invoice for a hotel room for them to stay when they come up, and it would have been under budget. It would have been great, but there were some folks were uncomfortable with it, so it got kiboshed.
Dang, I mean, it's like pen testing. You know, I mean, doing pen testing of a WordPress site, that would be pretty awesome. I mean, but now you're not having to hack somebody's WordPress site. You're just going like, here's a bunch of locks and let's play around with them. And there's different ways that locks are set up and everything.
Yeah.
And even if you can get like one of the companies that does WordPress security to do it, would be pretty awesome as well.
Yeah,
it would be a fun thing to have as a sponsor.
Something like that to sponsor it. Yeah.
I mean, if security would have that as a giveaway to sponsor booth.
Yeah, I like the idea of bringing in these kind of other things. I know that, George, you specifically like the actual physical objects. Like you made your speaker badge, you know, where you're like playing around with the soldering stuff and like circuits.
This was our embroidered logo this year.
You have an embroidered logo, so you're very textured.
Dude, awesome.
Like what is it? Kinetic touch-based? We do stuff in the real world. Does anyone know what that is? What is this real world thing?
Doing things in meat space.
Am I in a box? What's happening? Sorry. I just had a very meta moment there. It's like too real.
Yeah. Look, I think that I said this on that thread. I think organizers need a lot more leeway. I think that they've had leeway and they need leeway in terms of thank yous and things to be unique. The concern voiced in the ticket seemed to focus around the cost of various speaker gifts and what was described as a competitiveness between camps, which I found really like I've never seen it. I've been involved in a lot of different camps, both as speakers and organizers, and I've never heard a speaker be like, "Oh, well, I want to go to WordCamp Timbuktu because they give away X to their speakers," versus I don't want to speak at WordCamp.
You say axe? Like axe? What?
There is some level of prestige that comes with giving away Superscribe because you become legendary. People speak good things about you for the future. Like I'm pretty sure. John, were you at WordCamp Chicago 2014 where Michelle got enough sponsorship funding and gave all the speakers Timbuktus with the logo on it?
Wow, the bag. That's cool.
Yes. I
What's
still have
Timbuktu?
mine.
Is that a
Timbuktu is a messenger bag.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice. I've seen those bags. They're nice. But I think that, look, there are camps that have done speaker gifts that are noteworthy and get social media attention and whatnot. Like I can think of the San Diego's baseball jerseys, the players cards that I think Miami did one year. You know, there
Las
are things that are
did like dice or cards or something like that too. There was like
poker
chips.
Yeah, I've been involved with Vegas for almost all the years that Vegas has happened in some fashion. And yeah, we did poker chips one year. We've done dice. We've done often Vegas related things, but you know, and sometimes just T-shirts. But you know.
I think Hawaii got in the way.
And I didn't do Miami this year, whatever it was, a week or two ago. But last year for Miami, like I got a speaker swag bag that was like 20 different little things. Like, and there were some cool things like dominoes with a logo on them. But then there's like a lunchbox and there was like a tote bag. And like, I'm like, can we just get one cool thing? Like, I don't care whether it's one cool thing that is, you know, a $5 item or one cool thing that's a $50 or $500 item. But like, I don't need 50 things. I just want one memorable, cool thing. Like, and I would way prefer that money be spent more experientially, like George was describing, than on something high value. But I also don't think that the value should be capped arbitrarily, which is kind of where I think that thread was going, was what if we cap speaker thank yous at the price of a one-day ticket, which is $40, which I think is way too low.
20.
Or 20, which I think is way too low. Like
$30 is reasonable. If you're going above $30 per speaker, consider if it's necessary. But work your budget. If you're running massively over budget, then you may want to reconsider whether that's a good idea. But if you can work it in your budget and it's building the community and I don't see that huge of a deal of it, but I need to read the thread.
There is,
Yeah.
this is not.
Say go ahead.
It's like blick, blick. So this isn't necessarily specifically about speaker gifts, but there is happening right now a little bit of a backlash against tech t-shirts on the women in tech side. Not just because of the terrible fit of all of the shirts, but there was this really interesting article that someone published that I'll get the link to and we can put in the notes, that was basically talking about how the t-shirt look is very tech bro, and a lot of it starts to feel as if women are, in order to be part of that community more, we are basically, putting on the tech bro uniform and, wearing these t-shirts that are, pretty much across the board, not flattering. Let's just be, there's not a ton of flattery going on in a lot of these cuts for women. But it's a really interesting thing. And, given all like the plethora of t-shirts that were available at WordCamp US, it starts to become, you go to various trade shows and they're giving away little squeezy balls and they're giving away like, whatever, like candies and whatever. It starts to become not a thing that's neat necessarily, but just gratuitous. Like, here's just some more stuff we're going to throw at you. And I think that is a line that we should be careful with, because WordCamps have always felt really authentic. And when they start to just become like these like kind of inauthentic, here's just a bunch of stuff. And, one of the people at WordCamp US was giving away dollar bills, like literally had a table full of dollar bills and was like, it's easier just to give you money than it is to buy a thing and you're attracted to it, right? And I was like, I don't want your dollar bill. And I left. But
yeah, I know the payment gateway payment processors you're talking about. It's clever. It's not. It's actually
there's a tie-in. There's a tie-in
before. There is. There's a smart tie-in. It's been done before, and it's kind of cool. Like, it's a nice change. The thing is, I like t-shirts. I get they're not flattering to all women. Women have a lot more variety of upper body shape than men. But the thing is like a t-shirt I can wear a couple times and throw away or give away if I need to, or recycle into something else. A squeezy stress ball, I have no need for a 15th squeezy stress ball. I have no need for a 15th whatever. And it's kind of the nature of swag, right? It's right. Kind of pointless crap with your logo on it that you give to people. It's as hard as giving
for a 48th event shirt.
What?
Yeah.
I have no need for a 48th event t-shirt.
That's true.
Well, and there's an element of waste and thinking about in terms of the environment. And, I think that we have gotten, as WordPresses have gotten more normalized in that fashion, as opposed to being more innovative with stuff like what George was talking about, not just giving people another bag to stack up with the rest of their bags, but giving them a bonding experience or a community-based learning thing like that. The focus on shifting the focus from this stuff to these other things, I think, is a really great direction. So I'm really glad that conversation is happening and that you're part of that, George, and thinking outside of the, what do we have to do to just be like, a conference? But we're not just normal conferences. And I think innovating in that area is really great.
Another thing worth considering, I'm sorry, Jason, do you want to go ahead or should I?
No, go for it.
All right. Another thing worth considering is when you're doing t-shirts for an event, everyone's going to have different size t-shirts. So that's an extra point of information you need to collect when someone's signing up for a ticket. And that's an extra thing because some people are going to be signing up for tickets after you've already got the swag ordered. So you need to pad your order to get extras. So there's always going to be extras left over, and there's going to be in the wrong sizes. And some people aren't going to get the size they want, or someone that signed up for a XL is going to want a small, and then it's one big headache. So it's really cool if you can do something else that is one size fits all and makes it much easier to supply your attendees. So that's why for this year, for our attendees, we did hats. Also, we're a conference in early March. It's going to be cold outside. A warm hat's kind of a nice thing to have. We've done scarves in previous years. We were considering doing gloves at one point. But something that's one size fits all, and you can avoid a lot of that headache about different sizing issues, may be easier and save some of your organizers some headaches.
Yeah, I mean, Bridget did a thing on GitHub. It was her first like project on GitHub of had nothing to do with coding or anything, but she used the issues to kind of track all the different T-shirt sizes and the types of shirts that are used at these conferences. And then she actually took photos of herself in the shirt saying like, this shirt does not fit me. This shirt does not fit me. These are the reasons why we take scissors to these T-shirts and essentially make either muscle shirts or whatever out of them. But I love what you were talking about, George, and that, you know, you guys live in an environment where you're not even going to see the T-shirt anyhow, because if you're out and about, because you're going to be wearing a big jacket or a coat rather. So it's like, if that's the thing, then yeah, get hats or something like that.
And also, you're talking about sizing and fit of T-shirts. That's, yes, if they're only doing the unisex boxy cut that John was talking about earlier. But even sometimes you'll see sponsors like, I know WordCamp US a couple of years ago, Jetpack and Woo both did 3 different cuts of shirts. There was a general unisex cut, there was a traditional ladies cut, and there's a dolman cut, which is much more baggy style. That's a bit more like fashionista type cut. And we still had folks that none of the 3 cuts would fit them well. And then there was all that extra shirts left over. And then when it says the event name on it, what do you do with it afterwards? I mean,
thrift store. All the thrift stores end up having.
Well, we give it out internally to employees that want them, but it's a question, and you need to have some level of plan for it. And
I was going to say, I quite often take the extra T-shirt, an extra T-shirt that is not my right size, because I have dreams of building them into a giant quilt. So because I just want to cut the logo out of it, right? Like that's how I recycle my T-shirts. I get that doesn't apply to everyone.
I like the idea of patches a lot, because it's almost like harkening back to, like, you know, the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts. It's like WP Scouts, you know, we can have a thing with all your badges on it. That's kind of like where the pins are going. I like the pin, you know, pins are more like that. They are more unisex. They are more inclusive. You know, it's something that people aren't excluded from based off of availability or their size or whatnot. So I think that is thinking bigger and thinking more inclusive in all of these things that we're doing in WordCamps. You know, there's all these iterations, and if people start thinking about this stuff, we will get to some really innovative places, and we can, I think, even shape conferences all around. You know, we can be leaders in that area of, you know, environmentally more friendly. We're already, you know, we've got our great community guidelines happening. You know, I think the WordPress community is really advanced in a lot of these areas and has the opportunity to be a leader in those areas. And I think you're doing the good work, George. Keep the fight going.
Awesome job. That's about it, folks.
Last 10-second thing. I'm sorry.
10-second. Go for it.
When putting a logo on a T-shirt, be careful where you do it, because it can be awkward placement for some of the ladies that want to wear the shirts later.
Or even the dudes. If you have a big beer belly, it gets awkward as well, man. You don't even see half the. You don't even see half of the thing. So it's not just a lady problem either.
Patches, people. Patches are back.
Do patches.
Pins.
Eye patches.
Exactly.
Eye patches. That would actually be really cool.
A WordCamp on September 19th. Talk like a pirate day. WordPress WAPU eye patches.
Yes.
Yes. Somebody's got to do it.
Well, folks, that's about it for today. I want to say thank you very much for my panel of folks that were on today and kind of talking about all the cool stuff regarding WordCamps. I also want to remind you to go over and check out our sponsor, which is TunnelBear. They are sponsoring this particular episode. They have some really great stuff for free. You can check out their VPN. Their VPN service for free for the first 500 megabytes. You can also try their giant plan as well as their grizzly plan. And you can go over to WPwatercooler.com/TunnelBear to find more information about that.
I love their design. Love.
Yes. Yes. It's very awesome.
It's very cute.
All right, folks. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.